This animation begins by showing a woman named Morticia who has just woken up from sleep. Morticia has snow-white skin that contrasts sharply with her black hair. Morticia also has a habit of wearing all black clothes and makeup that even adds to the pale and gloomy impression on her face, making her look like a vampire. Because of her appearance, Morticia was often considered strange by the villagers. When Morticia is about to head to where her wedding will be held, the villagers were afraid of her then closing their doors and windows because they thought she was a vampire. That night, Morticia marries the man she loves, Gomez Addams, and she will not let anyone mess up the wedding. Morticia and Gomez didn't care about the villagers, who resented their family's habits and style of dress, which were very different from those of other people. But over time, Morticia felt uncomfortable and hoped that one day, she would be able to live in a region where the villagers would be happy to accept their family's existence. Not long after, Morticia finally arrived at the wedding venue and was immediately welcomed by Gomez Addams and his extended family. Right after Gomez put the ring on Morticia's finger, the villagers came with torches and farm forks to chase Morticia and Gomez away, because they were fed up with the Addams family in their village. When Morticia and the Addams family are about to escape, the villagers set fire to the bridge they were about to cross. Finally, they were forced to fight back, and with the help of Gomez's brother, Fester, Morticia and Gomez finally managed to escape from the villagers who were about to attack them. Since then, Morticia and Gomez decided to find a new place to live in a remote and isolated area so that no one would bother them anymore. Morticia wanted her children to grow up in a peaceful environment without being ostracized by the community. Morticia and Gomez then decided to move to New Jersey because they thought New Jersey was a safe and peaceful place for their family. On the way, they accidentally bumped into a man named Lurch, who looked like Frankenstein. Gomez is worried, decided to get out of his car to check on the man. When he saw the uniform worn by Lurch, Gomez immediately realized that he was a patient from a mental hospital. Lurch, who didn't seem to be hurt, then tried to scare Gomez and Morticia. But unexpectedly, Gomez and Morticia were not afraid of him, and even Morticia told Lurch to carry their suitcases into the car. They instead made him as their servant. At the same time, Morticia saw a house at the top of a hill. The mansion looked creepy, as it used to be a mental hospital that had been abandoned for years. Since the location was quite far from the residential area, Morticia thought the house might be suitable, so she immediately told Lurch to take them to the house. Upon entering the mansion, Morticia and Gomez were immediately impressed and decided to stay there, even though the house was haunted and quite creepy with the strange creatures that inhabited the house many years ago.
It's home.
13 years have passed since they first lived in the house, and now Morticia and Gomez have 2 children. Their first child is Wednesday, and their second child is Pugsley. Besides Lurch, who serves as a driver and butler, the Addams family also has a sentient tree named Ichabod, who is usually in charge of waking up the children every morning and is also Wednesday's best friend. One day, Wednesday told Ichabod that she was bored because she was always at home. Wednesday was never allowed to leave the house, making her very curious about the outside world. A curious Wednesday then walks to the gate of her house to see a bit of what's out there. At the same time, a girl named Parker was seen riding her bicycle near the Addams family's gate. Feeling curious, Parker then tried to approach the gate and accidentally met Wednesday. However, because Wednesday's appearance looked scary and she seemed to appear from behind the fog, Parker then became scared and immediately ran away from the place. On the other hand, Pugsley was seen spying on his father using binoculars from inside his room. Pugsley intended to test his homemade missile on his father, and when Gomez was caught off guard, Pugsley immediately fired the missile. But unexpectedly, Gomez managed to avoid the missile until he was hit by the missile. Even though his efforts had failed, Pugsley did not run out of ideas. He immediately wore a parachute while using a slingshot to shoot at his father with several small bombs. Seeing this, Gomez then took a baseball bat to deflect the bomb attack, until it finally hit Pugsley. After letting Pugsley play, Gomez invited him to practice using a sword because the Addams clan would hold a mizerka ritual in 2 weeks. Pugsley had to show his ability to use a sword during the ritual. The ritual is routinely performed by members of the Addams clan who are about to grow up, and all members of the Addams clan from all over the world will gather when the ritual is held to see Pugsley's ability to use a sword in a fight. Gomez then told his son to stop playing with explosives, because they were meaningless to their family. Gomez tried to persuade Pugsley to practice using a sword in a fight, even though his son had no interest in swords. After that, Gomez is seen helping Morticia prepare everything to welcome members of the Addams clan from all over the world who will come to their house to attend the mizerka ritual. While Morticia was disposing of Pugsley's bomb that was left on Gomez's shirt, Fester suddenly appeared along with his pet lion. Fester arrived earlier than the other members of the Addams clan because Gomez asked him to train Pugsley to use a sword in preparation for the mizerka ritual. During lunch, a curious Wednesday asked her parents about what was outside the gate. The question left Morticia and Gomez dumbfounded, as Wednesday had never asked about the outside world before. However, because Morticia didn't want her daughter to be ostracized by the people out there, she lied by saying that there were only swamps outside the gate. In addition, Morticia also forbade Wednesday to leave the gate before she was an adult. Hearing her mother's prohibition, Wednesday became upset and immediately left the dining table even though she had not finished her lunch. On the other hand, Lurch was seen watching television in the kitchen. It was a reality show hosted by a woman named Margot Needler, who was a homemaking developer. Margot intends to build a perfect planned community called Assimilation to make her reality show successful. To realize Assimilation, Margot will not only renovate one house, but also plans to renovate the entire city. After Margot finished filming, Parker suddenly came to Margot, who turned out to be her mother. Parker told her mother that she had just seen something strange on the hill and asked her mother to go there to check it out. However, Margot ignored her daughter's words because she was more concerned with her work and realizing her dreams. After that, Margot rushes to the town square to hold the opening ceremony of the Assimilation project with the residents who live in the area. The opening ceremony was lively until one of the balloons at the event floated high and entered the Addams family's property on the hill. Meanwhile, Wednesday was seen playing with Pugsley in the yard. Wednesday then offered Pugsley to help him prepare for the mizerka ritual. The innocent Pugsley immediately accepted the offer from his older sister, even though Wednesday actually just wanted to play a prank on Pugsley by burying him alive. Soon they both saw a red balloon that entered their yard and slowly descended along with some leftover confetti from the opening ceremony of the Assimilation project. Wednesday, who had never seen a balloon before, became mesmerized and picked up the red balloon. Wednesday, who seemed to like the balloon, immediately showed the balloon to her parents. Seeing this, Gomez and Morticia immediately went outside to check the situation and found that the thick fog that covered their house was starting to disappear. Not only that, but they also saw settlements that were quite close to the Addams family's house. At the same time, Margot, who was attending the opening ceremony, was very surprised when she saw the Addams family's mansion, which was previously covered by fog, and wondered about the house's residents. The next day, the Addams family took the initiative to go into town to introduce themselves to the area's residents. Because Fester and his pet lion also came with them, everyone they met suddenly felt very surprised, especially since the Addams family also had a strange and different style of dress from the people in general. While walking around, Wednesday saw a group of female students, including Parker, performing a dance performance accompanied by music. Fester, who saw it, felt interested in joining them, hoping to make the atmosphere more festive. But Fester pulled out a lot of bats from under his coat, which scared everyone and made them run away. After that, Margot came to greet the Addams family and offered to help renovate the Addams family's house, which looked scary. Although Morticia did not agree with the idea, she eventually agreed to it after Gomez convinced his wife by saying that the mindset of people today is different from the past. The next day, Fester showed a sacred sword belonging to the Addams family to Pugsley, who wanted to practice using the sword. Fester told Pugsley that the sword had been used for 300 years by members of the Addams family to undergo the mizerka ritual. It wasn't long before their doorbell rang. When Lurch opened the door, it was Margot. She visited the Addams family house with her assistant Glenn, a cameraman Denise, and a film crew Mitch. Margot's crew seems frightened by the creepy atmosphere of the Addams family home. After Margot gave the gifts she brought to Morticia and Gomez, they then took Margot and her cruise around to see the part of the house they wanted to renovate. Parker, who also came with Margot to the Addams family's house, chose to wait for her mother outside the house while playing with her cell phone on Ichabod. Parker then met up with Wednesday and the two got into a conversation. Both of them then reveal that they are bored with the lives they are currently living. When Parker tells Wednesday about her school, it makes her interested in going to school too. After walking around and seeing the part of the house that would be renovated, Margot told the Addams family that tomorrow morning she would send the workers to do the renovation immediately. However, Gomez and Morticia were against it because they had to prepare for the mizerka ritual that would be held in 2 weeks, so they decided to renovate their house after completing the ritual. Margot didn't like the decision because her TV show about Assimilation would end in 2 weeks. After that, Gomez escorted Margot to the front door, but they were both surprised by Glenn and Denise, who rushed away and said that Mitch had disappeared. They then told Margot that they didn't want to continue the work because the Addams family house was too creepy. Later that evening, Wednesday came to her parents and said she wanted to attend the school like Parker. Morticia initially forbids Wednesday from going to school with the other children, but after Gomez convinces his wife, Morticia allows her daughter to go to school. The next day, Wednesday was driven to school by her father in their family car. While in the school corridor, Wednesday met Parker, who was with her 2 friends, Layla and Kayla. On her first day of school, Wednesday discovered that a popular student named Bethany often bullied Parker. Wednesday did not accept seeing her first friend being bullied like that, so she threatened Bethany with her death glare. In a different place, Margot goes into her secret room, where she provokes everyone to hate the Addams family through social media, and it seems they are successfully provoked. One day, their teacher assigned Wednesday and her classmates to dissect frogs. Instead of following her teacher's instructions, Wednesday made a device that could make all the frogs become zombies and told the frogs to attack Bethany. As a result of the incident, the students and teachers became frightened and hurriedly left the school except for Wednesday, Parker, Layla, and Kayla. After the incident, Parker thought that Wednesday was extraordinary for having the courage to fight Bethany. Therefore, she took Wednesday for a walk in the mall. In the afternoon, Gomez's mother, Grandmama, arrives at the Addams family home early to help Morticia prepare for the mizerka ritual. At the same time, Wednesday came home and surprised her family because she was wearing a pink pony hairpin that contrasted with her all-black outfit. Seeing this, Morticia scolded Wednesday for wearing a new accessory without permission. Morticia always imposes her will on her daughter and wants her daughter to behave and have an all-black appearance, which is more characteristic of the Addams family. The next day, Wednesday went to Parker's house, where they both lamented their fate of being restricted by their family. Therefore, Parker was desperate to dye her hair black and change her appearance into a gothic style, while Wednesday changed her appearance by wearing brightly colored clothes. On the other hand, Pugsley was practicing using the sword, but there was no improvement at all. Pugsley could not master any techniques, which frustrated his father, even though the mizerka ritual was only 1 day away. Shortly after, the door opening was heard, and it was Wednesday, who had just returned from Parker's house. Wednesday appeared wearing brightly colored clothes and surprised everyone, including Grandmama. Morticia, who was unhappy with the change in her daughter's appearance, then scolded Wednesday and threatened to forbid her from going to school again. Morticia and Wednesday then got into an argument until Wednesday, who felt annoyed at her mother, chose to go into her room. Meanwhile, Parker, who had changed his dressing style to a gothic style, also surprised her mother. Margot also accused Wednesday of influencing Parker so that her daughter became a rebel and dressed like the Addams family. Later that night, after an argument with her mother, Wednesday decided to run away from home. She then met Pugsley to say goodbye. Knowing that her daughter ran away, Morticia looked sad and disappointed, as well as Gomez, who realized that a bad thing would happen to his family shortly because Pugsley could not use a sword, which was something important in the mizerka ritual. On the other hand, Margot plans to tear down the Addams family's house, because tomorrow is the last day of her TV show, which also coincides with the day of the mizerka ritual. The next morning, Mizerka Day arrived. Gomez and Fester's hairy cousin ITT was the first guest to arrive at their house. Meanwhile, Wednesday, who was still staying at Parker's house, was seen helping Parker find her cell phone that her mother has taken. Wednesday then suggested that Parker looks for her cell phone in her mother's room. Wednesday accidentally presses a lever inside the room that takes them both to Margot's secret room. In the secret room, Wednesday and Parker discovered something very surprising. All this time, Margot had secretly installed CCTV cameras in every house her team had renovated to spy on their lives. Unfortunately, Wednesday and Parker were caught by Margot, and they were locked up in the attic warehouse of Parker's house. On the other hand, all members of the Addams clan finally arrived in the city, and they are currently on their way to Gomez and Morticia's residence. At the same time, Margot gathered the residents and provoked them to tear down the Addams family's house. Wednesday, who saw it from the attic window, felt unacceptable that her family would be harmed, so she decided to return home immediately to protect her family. Meanwhile, the members of the Addams family, who didn't know about Margot's plan, were still enjoying the party to celebrate mizerka. After that, they started the ritual, even though Wednesday was not there. The ritual opens with a shout from Pugsley, followed by Pugsley playing with his sword. However, Pugsley fails to play his sword well, and even he repeatedly loses his sword, making him feel that he had failed and consider that he did not deserve to be part of the Addams family. Gomez then said that what failed was not Pugsley, but he who had failed in being a good father for his children, because all this time, he always imposed his will on his children and never gave freedom to his children to choose what they wanted. In the middle of the ritual, a large rock suddenly destroyed the roof of the Addams family's house, followed by other rocks that hit almost all sides of Gomez and his family's house. The stones were thrown by Margot and the angry residents, who Margot provoked. During the chaos, Gomez then told his family that the true meaning of mizerka was to protect all family members from people who wanted to harm them. Gomez then threw a bomb at Pugsley and asked him to show his ability to protect their family. Gomez and Pugsley managed to destroy the stones thrown at their house. But during the chaos, Pugsley ran out of ammunition, and at the same time, the house's ceiling seemed to be about to collapse. Luckily, Wednesday arrived in time to hold up the ceiling that was about to collapse, with the help of Ichabod. The mizerka ritual was closed with Pugsley throwing a bomb at Margot's catapult, which immediately stopped her action to destroy the Addams family's house. Gomez was relieved and grateful that the incident hurt no one. Meanwhile, Morticia felt very proud of her children for saving them all. Since that incident, the residents finally realized that they had made a mistake by attacking the Addams family, because they had saw that the Addams family was not much different from them after seeing them, who were very caring and protective of each other. Shortly after, Parker arrived and joined in defending the Addams family, even though her mother insisted on demonizing the Addams family in front of the residents. Wednesday then said that Margot had been spying on the residents through CCTV cameras that she had secretly installed in all the houses in the area. Margot, who had already been caught, admitted all her actions. It was broadcast live by Parker through her social media account and watched by more than 3 million people. After that, Margot was fired from her job, and all TV channels also terminated her contract. After the incident, all the residents apologized to the Addams family and helped them rebuild their house. Sometime later, Fester and Margot teamed up to run a remodeling business. Now all members of the Addams family have lived side by side with the residents who accept them for who they are. They also have their own house, which is now pink with a bright neighborhood atmosphere. The movie ends by showing Pugsley, honored as the true Addams and Parker, who is very familiar with all members of the Addams family.